Rome. A city, a myth, an empire. When we speak its name, we still feel the echo of legions marching beneath golden banners, of senators whispering among cold marble halls, of gladiators standing face to face with death. But Rome was not created solely through laws or battles. Rome was also forged in the shadow of extraordinary men who were satisfied neither with the Republic nor with the limits of tradition, men who wanted to be more than the world itself. We call these men Caesars. 12 men, 12 reigns, 12 ways of understanding absolute power. Some were wise peacemakers, others were cruel to the point of delirium. Some perished gloriously, others fell amid the whispers of betrayal. This is not only the story of their victories or their follies, it is the story of how, one after another, they shaped the ancient world and sowed the seeds of what we still are today. Because after that, the title, the name Caesar, was no longer just a name. It became an eternal symbol of power. Tsar in Russia, Kaiser in Germany, Emperor in universal history. Julius Caesar, the architect of ambition. Before there was an empire, there was one man whose name survived the centuries as a synonym for absolute power, Julius Caesar. Born in 100 BCE into an ancient but impoverished patrician family, Julius Caesar inherited neither a throne, nor an army, nor wealth. Instead, he inherited only his ambition. From an early age, he understood something that would change his destiny. In Rome, power was not asked for, it was taken. A brilliant orator, a bold strategist, and a tireless politician, Caesar rose through the hierarchy of the Roman Republic at a breathtaking speed. Quaestor, praetor, consul, each title was merely a step towards something greater. His military genius led him to the conquest of Gaul, modern-day France, in a series of campaigns that forever changed the map of Europe. As he described his victories in letters that captivated Rome, his legions swore loyalty that no longer belonged to the Republic, but to him personally. But in Rome, success inspired both admiration and fear. The Senate began to watch him with apprehension. And when he was ordered to abandon his armies and return as an ordinary citizen, Caesar made a historic decision. In 49 BCE, he crossed the Rubicon, a small river in northern Italy, whose crossing with legions directly challenged the Senate. According to tradition, as he crossed it, he spoke words that would echo throughout history. Alia iacta est, the die is cast, there was no turning back. After years of civil war, Caesar triumphed over all his enemies, Pompey, Cato, the guardians of the old order. He entered Rome as master of the Republic even though its outward forms still remained. He was appointed dictator first for 1 year, then for 10, and finally dictator for life. He surrounded himself with honors, titles, and statues. He reformed the calendar, expanded citizenship, fought corruption, and planned new political reforms. But his rise was too rapid, his power too absolute for those who still dreamed of the old Republican Rome. On the 15th of March 44 BCE, the infamous Ides of March, Caesar went to the Senate. There, surrounded by men he trusted, including his own protege Brutus, he was stabbed 23 times. He fell at the feet of the statue of Pompey, his former rival. Rome had killed its own savior, or its own executioner. His death unleashed a whirlwind of chaos, civil wars, and acts of revenge. And although the assassins claimed they had saved the Republic, in reality they had opened the path to something new, an empire. For from Caesar's blood would be born the first true Caesar, Augustus, his adopted son. Augustus, the birth of the empire. When Julius Caesar fell beneath the knives of the Senate, he left behind not only a vacuum of power, but also an unexpected heir. Gaius Octavius Thurinus, his young great-nephew, whom he had adopted as his son in his will. He was only 18 years old. He was weak, sickly, inexperienced. Few in Rome believed in him, they were wrong. Octavian was patient, cold-blooded, and calculating. In just a few months, he knew how to ally himself with those he needed, such as Mark Antony, while at the same time forging his own path. He presented himself as the avenger of Caesar, summoned the legions, promised justice, and little by little, piece by piece, he gradually gained absolute control over Rome. After eliminating the murderers of his adoptive father, and then confronting Mark Antony himself, in the famous Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, Octavian became the sole ruler of the Roman world. But Octavian did not repeat Caesar's mistake. He did not ask to be dictator for life. He did not openly provoke the Senate. He was more cunning. He presented himself as the savior of the Republic. He officially resigned his powers, only to receive even greater authority immediately afterward, under new and more acceptable titles. In 27 BCE, the Senate granted him the title Augustus, the revered one, officially inaugurating the Roman Empire. Under Augustus, Rome experienced its most stable period, known as the Pax Romana. He reformed the army, reorganized the provinces, revived traditional religion, supported the arts, and encouraged major infrastructure projects. Rome transitioned from a republic of citizen warriors into the capital of an imperial world, a mosaic of languages, religions, and cultures stretching from Spain to Syria, from Britain to Egypt. Augustus never accepted the title of king. He was princeps, first among equals, yet everyone knew that power rested in his hands. His private life, however, was far less orderly than his rule. His daughter Julia, a symbol of public virtue, was exiled for love scandals. His marriage to Livia, cold and calculating, was both a political and personal alliance. Her heirs, Marcellus, Agrippa, Gaius, and Lucius, died young, fueling rumors of poisonings and secret conspiracies. In the end, Augustus named his stepson Tiberius as his successor. An efficient but gloomy military man, Tiberius inherited the throne. In 14 CE, after more than 40 years in power, Augustus died peacefully in his bed. It is said his final words were addressed to the Roman people. "I found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble." To his closest friends, he joked like a true actor. If he had played his part well, they should applaud him as he departed. His death ended the era of the great republicans. The emperor had come to stay. Rome now belonged to the Caesars. The first to inherit the heavy crown was Tiberius. Tiberius, the emperor against his will. When Augustus died, the weight of the world fell upon the shoulders of Tiberius Claudius Nero. He was not born to be emperor. He was a brilliant general, a respected strategist, a man of action rather than court intrigue. But fate and his ambitious mother, Livia, pushed him onto the imperial throne. From the beginning, Tiberius was a reluctant ruler. He exercised power unwillingly. He distrusted the Senate, the plebeians, and the flattery that infected the court. He knew that behind the mask of the Republic, he was the sole master of Rome, and the burden weighed heavily on him. In the early years of his reign, he ruled prudently and skillfully. He maintained peace, strengthened the finances, and defended the borders. The administration was sober, efficient, almost exemplary. But little by little, loneliness, distrust, and resentment consumed him. He withdrew more and more from Rome, isolating himself in his private residence on the island of Capri, where, according to rumors of the time, he indulged in secret pleasures and dark paranoias. Tiberius left daily governance in the hands of prefects like Sejanus, an ambitious man who manipulated the levers of power for his own benefit, sowing fear and betrayal among the nobility. The Senate, once a deliberative body, became a chorus of flatterers. Informers, swift trials, and secret executions became commonplace. In his later years, Tiberius ruled from the shadows, while Rome slowly decayed in his absence. He died in 37 CE, hated by the Senate and feared by the people. According to legend, his death was not entirely natural. The prefect of the guard, tired of waiting, allegedly ordered him to be suffocated with a pillow when he appeared to recover. Thus ended the reign of the emperor who did not want to be emperor. But with his death did not come peace. On the contrary, Rome plunged into madness, for the next to inherit the crown would be Caligula, and Rome had no idea what was coming. Caligula, the emperor of madness. When Tiberius died, the Romans sighed with relief and celebrated the arrival of the new emperor, Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus, known as Caligula. Little boots, after the small sandals he wore as a child among his father's soldiers. At first he was hope itself, young, handsome, the son of the beloved general Germanicus. The people adored him, the Senate welcomed him, provinces sent delegations of congratulations. In the first months of his reign, Caligula behaved like the ideal emperor. He freed unjustly imprisoned men, reduced taxes, and organized lavish public games. Rome dreamed of a new golden age. But the dream was short-lived. A few months after his accession, Caligula fell gravely ill. When he recovered, the same man did not return, or, as some say, he simply dropped the mask. His rule became a carnival of excess, humiliation, and terror. He believed himself a living god. he ordered worship in a temple rivaling Jupiter's. He demanded that his statue be placed in the Temple of Jerusalem, nearly provoking a massive revolt. He publicly humiliated the Senate. He delighted in inviting nobles to banquets only to mock them and ruin them financially. He organized spectacles in which spectators could suddenly be thrown to wild beasts if they bored him. According to accounts, he even appointed his horse Incitatus as consul, mocking the Senate, though some historians debate whether this was satire exaggerated by enemies. He indulged in uncontrolled luxury, built floating palaces, squandered fortunes on whims, and turned imperial power into a stage of intrigue and conspiracy. Violence was not the exception, but the rule. He executed those who displeased him without trial or mercy. Even his own family was not safe. He eliminated his brother-in-law and publicly humiliated his sisters. Rome passed from jubilation to horror in an instant. Finally, after barely 4 years on the throne, in 40 CE, a small group of officers from the Praetorian Guard, weary of his madness and humiliation, stabbed him in a corridor of the imperial palace. Thus ended the life of the emperor who wanted to be a god and behaved like a demon. But Rome would not remain leaderless for long. The next in line was an unexpected man, one no one believed capable of ruling, Claudius. Claudius, the emperor no one expected. When Caligula's assassins finished their task, Rome stood frozen in tense silence. Who would rule now? Amid the chaos, hidden behind a curtain in the palace, trembling with fear, the soldiers found Claudius, the stammering, lame, shy member of the imperial family, long ridiculed and despised. They did not kill him. They proclaimed him emperor. Thus, almost by accident, Tiberius Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus became the new master of Rome. The Senate hesitated. The people murmured. But Claudius soon proved that beneath his awkward and mocked exterior lay a sharp and pragmatic mind. He was a scholar. He had spent years studying history, law, and ancient languages. Now, at the head of the empire, he put that knowledge into practice. He ruled seriously, reorganizing public finances, improving the judicial system, extending citizenship rights to distant provinces, and expanding the empire into new lands. It was Claudius who ordered the conquest of Britain, a military achievement that would bring glory and honor to Rome for generations. Yet while his public service was effective, his private life was disastrous. He married several times, but his most infamous marriage was to Messalina, whose ambition and debauchery scandalized even a Rome accustomed to excess. While Claudius was occupied with governing, Messalina allegedly plotted within the palace, conspiring to replace him. When he finally learned of her betrayal, a devastated Claudius ordered her execution, reluctant but ruthless. Later, he married Agrippina the Younger, his niece, in a political alliance that would also end tragically. It was Agrippina who introduced him to her son and elevated him, Nero, preparing him as his successor. In 54 CE, Claudius died under suspicious circumstances. History tells that Agrippina served him a dish of poisoned mushrooms, ensuring her son's ascent to the throne. He died as he had lived, underestimated, manipulated, but leaving behind an empire stronger than the one he had inherited. Claudius was, in many ways, the emperor no one expected, but the one Rome needed. And now, upon the ruins of his legacy, rose a new Caesar, brilliant, charismatic, and fatally dangerous. Nero. Nero, the artist who set Rome on fire. When Claudius died, the young Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, better known as Nero, became emperor. He was only 17 years old, beautiful, charismatic, with a melodic voice and a charming smile. Rome, weary of years of intrigue, welcomed the new Caesar with enthusiasm. People spoke of a new golden age. At first, Nero seemed to fulfill those hopes. He left governance in the hands of experienced advisors like Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, and Burrus, the Praetorian prefect. Reforms were fair, taxes moderate, art, culture, and public games flourished. But beneath this facade beat a restless soul. Nero did not want to be an emperor. He wanted to be an artist. He dreamed of being proclaimed a musician, poet, charioteer, actor. And little by little, the mask fell. As his megalomania grew, he eliminated all who reminded him of his imperial duty. He first poisoned his half-brother Britannicus. Then he forced Seneca and Burrus from power. Finally, he ordered the murder of his own mother, Agrippina, in one of the most infamous crimes of antiquity. Control over Rome belonged entirely to him. Then came 64 CE, the Great Fire of Rome. Flames engulfed the city for days. Thousands of homes burned. Monuments were reduced to ash. People mourned their losses. Meanwhile, legend tells that Nero played the lyre and sang, delighting in the destruction. Historians disagree on who started the fire, but we know that Nero exploited the catastrophe to build his ambitious Domus Aurea, the Golden House, a gigantic and extravagant palace in the heart of the devastated city. He needed a scapegoat and found one among the Christians, still a small, secret, and marginalized group in Rome. He persecuted them brutally, condemning them to be torn apart by beasts or burned alive as human torches. While Rome sank into misery, Nero continued to pursue his artistic dream. He forced the aristocracy to attend his endless recitals. He competed in poetic and musical contests, which he always won, of course. But the people, the Senate, and finally his own army grew exhausted. In 68 CE, a series of revolts erupted in the provinces. The Senate declared Nero a public enemy, a traitor, and abandoned him. Nero fled, hiding in a villa outside Rome. When his pursuers drew near, he chose suicide. According to history, his final words were, "What an artist dies with me." Thus ended Nero, not as a glorious emperor, but as a disappointed artist, a tragic monster lost in his own delirium. But his death did not bring peace. On the contrary, Rome plunged into one of its most turbulent periods. Dark times. The year of the four emperors had begun, Galba, Otho, and Vitellius. Rome was shattered. When Nero died, Rome did not find peace. It found emptiness. For the first time in nearly a century, there was no clear successor, no undisputed imperial family. The throne stood empty, and the Roman world was divided. Thus began the year of the four emperors, a whirlwind of ambition, betrayal, and bloodshed. A year in which three men attempted to seize the imperial crown, and only one succeeded in stabilizing the empire. The first to rise to power was Servius Sulpicius Galba, a respected elderly general, governor of Hispania. Supported by military officers dissatisfied with Nero, Galba marched on Rome and was proclaimed emperor. But Galba, who had spent his entire life in service to the state, failed to understand that the world had changed. He was exceptionally severe. He withdrew promises he had made to secure support. He punished former allies. He executed suspected officers. He refused to reward the legions who traditionally expected donations. Rome, which had expected generosity after the fall of Nero, instead encountered a harsh and merciless tyrant. Resentment grew, and even his ally Otho began plotting against him. Marcus Salvius Otho was young, ambitious, and elegant. A close friend of Nero and governor of Lusitania, Otho saw that Galba did not intend to adopt him as his heir. He did not hesitate. He bribed the Praetorian Guard, who already viewed the aging Galba with contempt, and organized a coup. On the 15th of January, 69 CE, Galba was brutally murdered in the Forum. His head, impaled on a spear, was displayed before the crowd. Otho was proclaimed emperor. For several months, Rome believed it had found a measure of stability. Otho proved intelligent, diplomatic, and moderate. But far from Rome, in Gaul and Germany, another general claimed the throne, Vitellius. Loyalist armies of Vitellius began marching toward Italy. Otho did not wait in the city. He marched out to confront them with his army. The decisive battle took place at Bedriacum. Despite their bravery, Otho's forces were defeated, and in a final act of dignity or despair, Otho chose not to prolong the civil war. He committed suicide in his tent, plunging a dagger into his chest. His death was mourned by his soldiers, who deeply admired him. His epitaph declared that he had set the greatest example of loyalty in times of corruption. After Otho's death, Aulus Vitellius became emperor. Vitellius was coarse, undisciplined, and devoted to endless banquets, wine, and excess. His rise was driven not only by his own ambition, but also by pressure from his legions. Once he arrived in Rome, Vitellius abandoned all claims of moderation. The city became a circus of excess, grotesque feasts that drained the state treasury, persecutions of senators, both real and imagined enemies. Those who had hoped for stability found only humiliation and violence. Meanwhile, in the east, a new power emerged. The legions of Judea and Syria proclaimed their general Vespasian as emperor. Rome, exhausted by betrayal and bloodshed, now looked eastward in search of salvation. In December of 69 CE, Vespasian's forces entered Rome. Vitellius attempted resistance but was captured. Dragged through the streets, he was finally brutally killed in the Forum. His mutilated body was thrown into the Tiber. Thus, one of the darkest years in Roman history came to an end, the year of the four emperors, a year of absolute chaos. But after the storm, Rome found a builder, a man capable of restoring the foundations of the empire. That man was Vespasian. When Vespasian was proclaimed emperor, Rome did not need a hero, but a builder. And Vespasian was precisely that. Born into a modest family in the Sabine region, far from traditional aristocracy, he rose through military merit rather than lineage or palace intrigue. He served with distinction in Britain and Judea, and when chaos consumed Rome, his strength and prestige elevated him as its savior. When he ascended the throne, Rome was a ruined city. The treasury was empty. The streets were filled with ruins and corpses. The Senate was humiliated and afraid. Vespasian promised neither glory nor utopian ideals. He promised work and he delivered. He reorganized imperial finances, ruled with a firm hand, restored military discipline, and curtailed luxury and corruption at court. So pragmatic was he that he even imposed a tax on public latrines. When his son Titus protested the vulgarity of the measure, Vespasian held up a gold coin and said, "Money does not smell." Thus was born the famous expression pecunia non olet. Under his rule began one of Rome's most monumental and symbolic projects, the construction of the Colosseum, the great amphitheater that still dominates the city. Vespasian understood that Rome needed spectacles to unite the people. Not luxury reserved for aristocrats, but monuments dedicated to all, devoted to the Roman people. Unlike many of his predecessors, Vespasian did not seek divinity. He possessed no divine aura, nor did he pretend to be a living god. He was a grounded, sober, ironic man who could laugh at himself and at the excesses of power. On his deathbed in 79 CE, aware of the tradition of deifying emperors, he joked, "Oh dear, I think I am becoming a god." He died respected, loved by his soldiers and the people, leaving behind a restored empire, stable and stronger than the one he had inherited. For the first time in a long while, Rome could look to the future without fear. His eldest son, Titus, inherited the purple, and with him Rome briefly experienced a reign marked by both tragedy and greatness. When Vespasian died, the empire passed smoothly into the hands of his son, Titus Flavius Vespasianus. This was unprecedented in Rome. For the first time, an emperor was peacefully succeeded by his own son, without coups or civil wars. Titus was well known to the people. He had been a general during the brutal Jewish war, and had led the capture of Jerusalem and the destruction of its temple in 70 CE, a victory that sealed both his glory and controversy. Despite this, in Rome, Titus was deeply loved. He was charismatic, generous, and approachable. He organized public spectacles, aided the poor, and distributed relief in times of hardship. He cared for Rome's image as no emperor had since Augustus, and he would need to, for during his brief reign, fate brought calamities. In 79 CE, only months after his accession, Mount Vesuvius erupted. Cities such as Pompeii and Herculaneum were buried beneath ash and lava, frozen in time forever. Thousands perished, Rome trembled. Titus responded as a true leader. He sent aid, coordinated rescue efforts immediately, and offered imperial resources to the victims. His compassion further strengthened the love people felt for him. Soon after, a great fire devastated parts of Rome, followed by a plague that ravaged the city. Titus faced every tragedy not from marble palaces, but side by side with the people, present, visible, generous. But his light was brief. In 81 CE, after barely 2 years in power, Titus died suddenly at the age of 41. Some whispered that he had been poisoned by his younger brother Domitian, though no convincing evidence exists. His death provoked genuine mourning in Rome. People wept for their emperor as for a father, as for a friend. Titus was one of the few Roman emperors to die loved, admired, and respected by all layers of society. His legacy included the completion of the Colosseum, inaugurated with 100 days of games, battles, and grand spectacles, and an indelible memory of a Caesar who, amid catastrophe, never ceased to be human. But with his death, Rome once again fell under the shadow of a colder, more ruthless force. His brother Domitian would take the throne, and with him the empire would come to know absolute fear. Domitian, fear in purple. When Titus died, his younger brother Domitian ascended the imperial throne. There were no celebrations, no popular rejoicing, only silence. Domitian lacked his brother's charisma and his father's patience. He possessed cold, absolute ambition and a deeply ruthless nature. Distrustful from the very beginning, he made it clear that he would not be first among equals. He would be Lord and God. He ordered that he be addressed as Dominus Deus. The Senate, now reduced to a shadow, obediently bowed its head. The provinces sent tribute. High-ranking armies pledged loyalty. Domitian centralized power as never before. He ruled every aspect of public life, rewarded informers, expanded espionage, and turned fear into an instrument of governance. Yet not all was terror. Domitian was also an effective administrator. He strengthened the Rhine and Danube frontiers, fortified the Germanic lines, maintained order in the provinces, protected the currency from inflation, and adorned Rome with new buildings, temples, and forums. Under his reign, the empire prospered economically. The Pax Romana was maintained, firmly, but at a very high cost. Freedom had vanished. No one was safe from suspicion, senators, generals, or even close relatives. Secret trials, property confiscations, and political purges multiplied. Rome lived with a sword hanging above its head. After more than 15 years of rule, the fear Domitian spread turned against him. A palace conspiracy woven among senators, officers of the Praetorian Guard, and even his own wife Domitia Longina, ended his life. In September 96 CE, Domitian was killed in his own palace, stabbed multiple times by his own servants. The Senate, breathing a sigh of relief, ordered his memory erased. His statues were destroyed, his name removed from inscriptions, his legacy officially condemned to oblivion, damnatio memoriae, though never fully erased. With the death of Domitian ended the Flavian dynasty, and with it, the age of the 12 Caesars. As Suetonius recounts, Rome moved forward. New emperors would come, Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, and many others. But the story of these first 12 left an indelible mark. They were builders and destroyers, dreamers and monsters, heroes and tyrants. They forged the Roman Empire not only with legions and laws, but also with their passions, fears, and follies. The history of Rome is also the history of its Caesars, men who, in embracing absolute power, discovered that there is no crown without weight, no throne without shadow, and that even the mightiest are, in the end, only human.